We are in a time where we can't rely just on government to get conservation priorities past a certain line and to help protect the ocean or to protect the environment or make sure that we are doing things sustainably. There are some times when there's a government in power that may not help us and that may go sometimes the opposite way. It sucks. Nobody likes it. But there are times where we have to rely on businesses to do what they need to do, not only to make a profit, but make an impact. And that's today's topic. We are going to be talking to Marcus O'Donovan. He is the founder of CO2U, which provides carbon dioxide cylinders for your sparkling water. It's a fantastic model, and you're probably like, how is this sustainable, Andrew? Well, it's sustainable in that you are using your tap water. You're making your tap water more exciting. You're not buying sparkling water out of a plastic bottle. You are actually enjoying your water, and you get it on demand, and it's sustainable, and that's how it's sustainable. Does he go on and on about talking about how sustainable this product is? No, he just enjoys providing sparkling water on demand for people in and around the UK and parts of Europe. And I think it's just amazing. And I wanted you to get to know him and his business practice and all the other things that he's done over time that has prepared him for CO2U. So let's start the show. Hey everybody, welcome back to another exciting episode of the How to Protect the Ocean podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Lewin, and this is the podcast where you find out what's happening with the ocean, how you can speak up for the ocean, and what you can do to live for a better ocean by taking action. And today we're going to be talking about how to have a business that's sustainable and not necessarily build it based on that sustainability. I think that's what's really important here. I think a lot of people, and I included, when I first started getting into the sustainability practice and looking at businesses and talking about the selling points of a business, I was like, let's talk about how sustainable this business is. Well, it doesn't always have to be that way. And I think a lot of people, a lot of consumers are getting tired of hearing about sustainability and tired of hearing, hey, you know what? You should buy this because it's good for the planet. People want to buy things because it's good for them. They can use it, it's convenient, and they want to do that. And that's what Marcus O'Donovan has really done with CO2U. It's a very interesting business model with a product that you probably never would have thought of as counting as sustainable. I didn't really think so when I first started this interview. And then as I went through the interview, I'm like, oh, I see what it is. This is sparkling water on demand. Instead of going out to the store and buying it in a plastic bottle or buying it in a single-use plastic, you can actually get sparkling water on demand right from tap water. So you're not using extra water. You're not, supporting companies who are not sustainable, bringing plastic into the supply chain and it being single use and it's not getting recycling. You're having it at home. It's convenient to you and you get to excite your water a little bit and have a good time at home. I think this is something that becomes really important in terms of the messaging. And Marcus talks a lot about his entrepreneurial journey, which I think is really important. When we look at problem solving, which is basically business and entrepreneurs, they are problem solvers. We look at how can we create businesses that solve the problems that we're facing, like in the ocean or in the environment, and make things more sustainable. That's the problem that we have to solve. A lot of you in the audience want to solve the very same problem in different ways. And Marcus talks about what he went through that built them to be resilient and start a business that some of the people in his circle said, I don't think this is actually going to work. But he proved them wrong just by saying, hey, I actually think this is going to work. I don't know a lot about the industry, but I'm going to find out a lot about it. It took a year and a half and I'm going to create something. And now it's blossoming. And I think it's really important to go back to his history to talk about how he built the resilience to do that. He worked in the TV and film industry as a kid, as a teenager and a young man. And then he started his own business. COVID kind of kiboshed that. And now he's got a new business and it's absolutely amazing. So we're going to talk to him. And here's the interview with Marcus O'Donovan, the founder of CO2U, which you can find at co2u.com. Here's the interview and I will talk to you after. Hey, Marcus, welcome to the How to Protect the Ocean podcast. Are you ready to talk about CO2U?
I'm very ready. I'm pumped, actually.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I'm pumped. I'm pumped as well. This is going to be a lot of fun because today we're going to be talking to you about sort of your lifestyle in a second, like your life and how you become an entrepreneur from a TV career and a TV and film career and what that was like, why you made those decisions, and we're going to cover a lot of things about, you know, sustainability in business, the challenges, the successes that you've seen, and the challenges that you faced. We're going to get into all of that stuff. It's going to be a lot of fun. Before we do, though, Marcus, why don't you just let people know who you are and what you do?
So my name is Marcus O'Donovan. I am based in London in the UK, and I founded a business called CO2U. We'll get into it more, but what CO2U essentially does is it provides gas refills for home carbonators. So if you have, for example, a Soda Stream or an Arky or any kind of device that makes sparkling water at home, we send the gas to you. You use it. Once you're done, we send more and we collect the empty cylinders at the end. And there's a whole host of stuff we can talk about where that kind of fits in within this space.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a really ingenious idea. You know, this seems to be a market that has really exploded over the last, I would say, like 5 years. I've seen it here in Canada anyway. And so I'm really interested into seeing how you got into this, where, you know, and what made you decide to go into this. We're going to get into all that. That's going to be a lot of fun. I have to ask, you know, you weren't always this type of entrepreneur. You were a little bit of a different type of entrepreneur in terms of you were TV shows and film, kids TV shows as well. How did you get into that kind of career?
Well, I think for me, I was always someone that wanted attention. Maybe that's slightly weaned as I've got a little bit older. But certainly when I was younger, I desperately
Yeah.
wanted. I wanted to be in a boy band. Actually, that was my kind
Okay.
of dream.
Yeah.
And incredibly, I was kind of on that journey. And very long story, but I ended up doing this huge casting call for a guy called Simon Fuller, huge music mogul entrepreneur, and I got signed into this kind of band TV show type thing here in the UK when I was very young, about 16, 17. And so I had this very exciting time, lots of money, sort of just a very slight taste of fame, but not really.
Yeah.
And I kind of remained in that whole world, trying to kind of make it in kind of television presenting, acting, that kind of thing. Did a lot of TV shows. I was the kind of, I did a lot of big shows, but I was the actor that kind of, if it was Doctor Who, I'm coming around the corner and saying, "Doctor, your tea's ready." It's like, it's
Right.
like these
Yeah.
sorts of
Yeah.
parts. So like, not extra, but not exactly the star of the show either.
Yeah.
So it got to about 10 years in and I kind of thought, hey, you know what? I think what I really want to do is kind of sell. And I think I was very interested in economics. I just didn't really understand
Mm.
what that was. I actually ended up in the food business. I started a business called Husk, and
Okay.
this was a business that sold dry goods into hotels, pubs, and bars. So kind of
Gotcha.
nuts, snacks, that
Yeah.
kind of thing. And that was a roller coaster of a business. Again, it was about a 10-year journey. Business went bust in COVID, and then
Mm.
kind of rebuilt itself and somehow eventually I actually sold it last year to a business here called Cambrook Foods. So it was not a massive business and not some kind of
Right.
huge tech exit, but uh, a lot of experience selling physical product and just kind of making huge mistakes lots and lots of times. And that really set me up for my next business. It's just I'm really fortunate that I had that journey
Yeah.
to get so
Of
much
course.
wrong. I'm not saying I don't get things wrong now because we all do, but it gave me a wealth of knowledge and opportunity, which I didn't kind of realize I had
Well,
until I
after.
started CO2U, and I was like, oh, I already know how to do this and this and this. And
Gotcha.
so
Now,
that's kind of the journey.
let's go back to that career shift between the TV and film
Mm.
to the entrepreneurial sort of career path. In career and film, you're put in a lot of, I guess, uncomfortable situations in terms of, from what I've heard anyway. I've never had experience in it, but auditioning is very uncomfortable, where you're being judged right away and you have to think on your feet. And acting, you have to think on your feet. Not sure how much improv you get to do in some of these shows, but you do have to like make sure that you're ready for anything. Do you find that aspect of this type of industry, when you look at, TV and film, compared to entrepreneurship. Do you find that helped you prepare for the unpredictable of entrepreneurship when you
Y-
started
y-
hustling?
y- Yeah, I think what was incredibly helpful was all the rejection,
Yeah.
and as you say, being put in very difficult scenarios, being asked to do difficult things. You did a lot of casting calls, things like commercials, where you just walk in, you don't really know what they want you to do. There's lots of people sitting there watching you. You got to perform. You're being told for this reason or that reason that you're not getting the role, not good looking enough, not tall enough, not whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Um, and
It can be pretty
so,
personal sometimes too, right? Like it
yeah,
feels pretty
yeah,
personal. Yeah.
yeah, pick up a very thick skin. And I think the real advantage that it gave me is the ability to confidently to be outwardly confident when I'm speaking or when I'm public speaking, or to walk
Yeah.
into a room and feel, I don't know, that it's my partner, she always tells me I'm an extrovert, you're an extrovert, but for me, I just love people, and I love um being present.
Mm.
And I think I'm in my early 40s now, but I think as I sort of get older, I really look back and value a lot of these things that I was
Yeah.
fortunate enough to be a part of. Even if I didn't become Tom Cruise, I had some experience and some kind of journey within it. So, to answer your question, yeah, that whole world of entertainment has been very valuable, when it's come to pitching, selling
Yeah.
yourself. It's really helped.
Yeah. And I like you mentioned rejection, and to be able to get over that rejection, it's experience. Obviously, it can be tough sometimes, as we mentioned. What helps you get over that rejection, whether it be in a sale or whether it be at an audition? What helped you get over that, so that now in business, if something does happen, God forbid, you do get rejected or you don't get a particular sale, or something doesn't work out, how do you get over that? Because it happens a lot in the marine conservation industry. We don't get a grant or something we want. Say a bill gets through, it doesn't get through. We deal with it can be very personal to us, and so a lot of people have problems with mental health throughout their careers because of some of the things that, like, the impact of the rejection could be a loss of a habitat or things like that.
Yeah.
How does that work? I mean, for you, sometimes a lot of times the stakes were hard. You lose a job for TV and film, or you lose a sale that's impacting on your business. How do you build up that strength to get over the rejection?
Not easily. uh, Look, you're asking me these questions now in hindsight, having been
Yeah.
through everything that I've been through. I think at the time, I found these things extremely challenging. It doesn't
Right.
surprise me that you mention people struggling with their mental health over these kinds of things. I get it. I think where I'm at now is that I don't approach things negatively. I'm very positive, very ambitious, but
Right.
I'm certainly a bit of a realist. I
Mm-hmm.
understand sometimes things can appear a little bit too good to be true. Probably
Mm.
means they might be a bit too good to be true, and we're pitching to these big buyers at these, restaurant chains or supermarkets, whatever they are, and they're giving us all these signals. But until the money's in the bank, as they say, nothing's kind of guaranteed. So now I find all this stuff a lot easier, and I've learned as well that I think when I was an actor, being honest, I was desperate. I was very, very
Mm-hmm.
desperate. It was very, very hard. There was a
Yes.
lot of competition. We were all desperate, and there was a desperate sense when you walked into the casting rooms and you sat outside, and you could smell it in the air. And desperation is not attractive. Nobody
No.
wants to be around or be pitched to by somebody that's desperately trying to sell them their product. So when
Mm.
it comes to selling something now, I just pull it right back. And it's
Yeah.
kind of like, look, I've got this great thing, and it is a great thing, and we'll talk about CO2 and what it's doing, and the growth and everything else. But it's like, if you want it, great. If you don't, no problem. And yeah,
Yeah. That's
lost my train of
basically what
thought
it
with it,
comes.
but
No, but I mean, I think you're right. We're around the same age, and I think you're right. I think when you're young, it really hits hard, and you take it almost personally, and you don't know how you're gonna get over it. As you grow older, you come like cautious. You see the signs ahead, and you kind of like, okay, hold on, I gotta tread lightly here, and I know what to expect, what not to expect. The signs are all there, and you tend to get over a little bit more. Your emotions aren't as in it a little bit. Mind you, it could be a little bit different in terms of TV and film, because they're going after, like you mentioned, looks and personality, and it's like you don't like. Sometimes it's a little more personal, but still,
Oh,
it's
it's
still
it's yeah, listen, there's a big difference between selling yourself and selling a
yeah,
product. Even if it's a product
right,
that you've created and you've designed, you can still pick it up and move it out the way, but you can't do the
yes,
same with yourself. So
true,
if you aren't what they want, you aren't what they
yeah,
want, and there's nothing you can do, you know?
yeah, no, hundred
Very, very
percent,
personal. It's
yeah.
a tough business, and I still have many, many, many friends, still still in that business, plugging away, and oh, yeah, some
It's
tough conversations with some of them sometimes.
unbelievable. Yeah, I can imagine. I can only imagine. But speaking of tough, you mentioned Husk closed down or really got affected during COVID, which was tough for a lot of entrepreneurs. A lot of people out there, either lost their jobs or lost their businesses, or their businesses were severely impacted. Another, non uncontrollable sort of challenge that hits you. You probably did you realize at that time it's like, okay, we don't know how long this is going to last, but I need to sell, or I need to shift. Like, what was the train of thought during that time?
I remember my accountant said to me, he said, "Oh, it's 2 weeks. It's 2 weeks." And
Right.
because it was my accountant, I was like, "Oh, great. Okay, that's fine."
Yeah.
And I just like, went to bed that night and I thought, well, it's going to be great because, the whole
Yeah.
of London's locked down and,
Yep.
it'd be fun for 2 weeks. It's something completely rare. And then,
Right.
yeah, as it kind of snowballed on, I realized, oh, okay,
Right.
it's gonna change the world, and it has completely
Hmm.
changed.
Hmm.
It's changed everything.
Yeah.
Um, I'm. It was an extremely hard time for me. I know a lot of people did very, very well at that time. We did not.
Yeah.
But what it did do for me was it kind of forced my hand to start something new. And I'd had this idea for CO2U. Kind of, I didn't really have the idea, but I thought about it briefly once. But
Hmm.
it was kind of floating around, and I realized, I just had. We just had a baby with my partner, so she
Congratulations.
and I
Yeah.
were kind of like, what are you going to do, or what am I going to
Yeah.
do? um and So it devastated the business I had at the time, but actually eventually in came some of these government grants and things, and I ended up being able to launch CO2U kind of around that time, using some of my own money, but also a bit of the money that I got there.
Right.
And so a blessing and a curse.
Yeah.
You know, all ended up okay.
Well, yeah, and which we're going to get into in just a second. 'Cause I can't wait to talk about this, because I'm not familiar with this industry at all, and I think it's a really interesting one, especially from the sustainability aspect. But it seems like you've always had that entrepreneurial spirit in you, even like as a TV and film artist. You still you're advocating for yourself. You're a little on your own. You have a team and stuff, and then you get into Husk, and now you're in CO2U. What made you, like, during those times, some of the hard times, not go get a job and decide to start another company?
It's a good question. I've always had sort of a huge fear of. I mean, I was naughty at school. I don't like being told what to do. So the idea that I would have to go and and be a good boy
Yeah.
and do what I was told, I just think I always that was never going to be for me, and it's been incredibly hard. I am not one of
Hmm.
these entrepreneurs that hit big in their early 20s and made his
Right.
millions, and has since kind of built. That is not my journey
Right.
whatsoever. And for anybody listening who is young and does want to become an entrepreneur, I'm so passionate about it. I think it when it works out for you, it will change your life in ways that I don't
Mm.
believe any job could ever um, change your life. But make no mistakes about it, it's really hard. You see all this stuff on social media, whatever, these guys flashing the cash, whatever. If that even does exist, it's a tiny, tiny, tiny
Yeah.
fraction of people that are successful. And that's why you hear about it. You don't hear about the 99.8% of the people that are really struggling, me being, having always been in that
Right.
bracket.
Yeah, and
Um,
I think that's the problem too. Is we get distracted by the people who are doing this. Sometimes not even not even succeeding, but they're kind of flashing this money when they probably shouldn't
sure.
be,
Yeah.
right? And
Mm.
but we have to. I don't think a lot of people realize how challenging entrepreneurial life is, which is why I'm going a little down this road because I wanted to get the idea of what you've been through to get a company that is doing like doing well with Husk, and then all of a sudden, due to things out of your control for a lot of people, it gets affected in a huge deal, and then to have the courage to start something else is amazing, to get over one thing and then to go to another and to put all your heart and soul into another. It's risky. It is. And although sometimes a job is comfortable, which many of us have, and there's nothing wrong with it, entrepreneurism is that challenge. But like you said, when you get to it and you start to see that success, it's almost success in multiple ways, not just the purpose of your business, the bottom line, like the profit, but also your own, like the fact that you've succeeded in something, the independence, the decision making that you get to do and not controlled. I've worked in both aspects, and I think there's a big difference in that. And I can completely get where you're coming from when you finally get that taste of success, even if it's not
Yeah.
huge success at the time, right?
And it's not by any means to knock regular employment.
For sure.
If it wasn't for regular employment, I wouldn't have been able to have done what I've done. My partner works in corporate in
Yep.
finance, and for a lot of this journey, she's been the breadwinner. She's
Yep.
supported me, and she's believed in me, and believed in the process. And
Yeah.
had I not had her and had that, it might not have been possible.
Right.
So I'm by no means kind of belittling or suggesting, like you say, that like there's anything wrong with having a quote
Right.
unquote normal job. I'm just saying, for me, never gonna happen. Never gonna happen, baby.
Never gonna happen. Yeah, it definitely goes
Yeah.
by
Yeah.
personality a lot, right? And I think that's wonderful. Let's get into CO2U. This is a really interesting concept. It's a great business model. Can you give us a description of what the business is, and then we'll get to like the bit of the origin story of how it started.
Yeah, sure. Very, very simply, I think I said at the start of the podcast,
Hmm.
if you're making sparkling water in your home, which a lot of people are now, and we'll talk about
Hmm.
why, because a lot of it is to do with sustainability, of course,
Hmm.
then you're going to need CO2. And here in the UK, there's one major supplier of this product called SodaStream, owned by PepsiCo.
Same
And
here too.
I
Yep.
was big fan of that business. And my partner bought me a SodaStream, and I was using it, and I loved it. And it kind of the thing that was kind of eye opening for me about the whole thing about making sparkling water in your home was that I drink a lot of sparkling water. So I used to carry, we're in central London, I used to carry these big 2 liter bottles, like six of them, back from the supermarket.
Oh my gosh.
And I'd open them up. And once you open them, of course, they start going flat. You sort of drink a lot, they take
Yep.
up a lot of room. And
Yep.
suddenly here I am with this kind of sparkling water on tap situation. So, look, how the business started, because you're going to ask me that question, I will tell
Yeah.
you,
Yeah. Yeah.
was I SodaStream had an offer where you could get the gas delivered to your house, but incredibly, when you finished using it, you had to box it back up, and you had to take it down and carry it down to like a click and collect
Yep.
location to get back to them and get your money refunded. This, that, and the other. And I thought there must be a way in which this could all be done on your doorstep. And so
Hmm.
that's what I set about building with CO2U. And I'm so glad that I did it, but I have to say it wasn't straightforward. There was a very, very good reason why that wasn't possible, and it was simply that the courier companies won't collect empty cylinders or used cylinders from people, because they believe in some way that they might be dangerous. So there was a good year and a half where I thought the thing isn't going to work, and I'm never going to be able to convince these career companies um, to work with me on this. But man, it was crazy journey. Just it started with me buying some cylinders, and I sold on Amazon before, and I looked, I thought, well, if I buy 1,000 cylinders and I put them on Amazon and see if they sell, and gone. Like
Just like that?
yeah, very quickly I sold these cylinders. I thought,
Wow.
okay, if I can sell 1,000 and sell them quick, this is there's something in this. This has
Yeah.
got to be
It's a good
this has got
pilot.
to be a thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I did two things. I'll tell you about some of the disasters, and then we can talk about some of the success. But I decided, I thought, hey, look, I'm going to need my own machine. I think like almost out of vanity more than anything else. So I had some stupid names for the company for the idea. One of them was Fizzy Banter, terrible name. And my friend's in marketing, and I met up with him one evening, and he said, "Oh, what are you up to?" I explained. I said, "I'm going to call it Fizzy Banter." He said he texted me that evening. He said, "Look, I cannot, in good faith, allow you to start a new business and call it this. Um, Meet me tomorrow, and I'll give you your name, and I'll give you your logo free of charge." Lovely guy called Ardy. Anyway, I
Yeah.
went to me, and the next day he said, "Listen, this is your business. It's called CO2U," and I was like, "Of course it is, because it's exactly what this is all about. CO2U, yeah, makes
Yep.
total sense." And the whole thing was born. Um, so originally, I had these machines to make sparkling water at home, so I ordered those, and I ordered some test cylinders from this manufacturer and in China, and brought them all back to the UK. Tried everything out, was brilliant. So ordered the machines and ordered the cylinders. And this was around the time of COVID. So the first cylinders turned up, and I was so excited. And I shot this video, and I told all my friends, and I sent out machines to all these different friends, and I didn't really get much of a response from anybody.
Mm.
I thought, well, that's kind of odd. I put the machines on Amazon. They started selling. I was like,
Hmm.
okay, awesome. And they were selling well. I started getting people returning the machines. I thought, what's going on here? Why is someone returning the machine? So I rang my friend, Paul. I said, hey, how are you getting on with that machine? And he said, actually, mate, I couldn't get it to work. I said, what do you mean? It's you just screw the cylinder in? And he said, yeah, I know how it works, but I cannot get it to work. Anyway, after speaking to a number of other different people, lots of people had problems working the machine. I thought, I don't believe this. These guys who've made the machine have they've given me a faulty product. It's over before it even started, because I'd
Yeah.
invested about 70,000
Yeah.
pounds, all the money that I could put into this thing. I put in.
Ooh.
I was like, it's dead, and it was terrible. I went to the warehouse the next day, started trying out all these machines, and they weren't working properly. Some were working a bit, some weren't.
Oh, okay.
So I was tearing my hair out for a couple of weeks, arguing with this machine manufacturer. Look, what's going on? These machines don't work. They said, Marcus, we're the largest producer of these machines globally. Here is the video of your product going down the production line, being tested. They always work. We don't ever have these problems. So I was going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And in the end, uh, after having been assured by my cylinder supplier that they'd given me the exact same cylinder that we'd used during testing, turns out that because it was COVID, they'd sourced an identical part for the cylinder, the valve, that's exactly the same. There's nothing different about it. But actually, when we measured it, it was about a third of a millimeter out in its design or whatever, and it had affected the machines. And the worst part about it was I had 7,000 cylinders on the water coming from this same manufacturer. And I thought, well, that's it. It's over. Anyway, long story short, the cylinders arrived, and they'd used the correct part on these other ones. It had just been this brief little
Oh.
thing that they'd done, and they hadn't been honest about it, and everything worked. And then from that moment onwards, it has been for the most part an extremely exciting, enjoyable journey, where we then grew 500% in year two, and we've doubled in size ever
Wow.
since.
Wow.
I've gone through a few rounds of of investment. I've been
Yeah.
very, very lucky. First investor I was put in front of, Anthony Bolton, and he said, "All right, I'll invest." And then the second investor I got in front of, year and a half later, Louis, he said, "Yeah, I want to back you. I want to invest." And then recently, at the end of last year, the business is growing and growing and growing, and I can't finance the growth. So I said to my manufacturer, "Oh, the problem is I just can't afford to buy the amount of cylinders I need to buy from you."
Right.
And he said, "All right, well, we'll have a think about payment terms, whatever." Anyway, they came back the next day, and within about a week and a half, I'd sold a small amount of the company to uh, Victory, which is one of the largest gas cylinder suppliers globally, firefighting equipment suppliers. And
Wow.
so, yeah, that's where we're at today. And
So
yeah,
it continues to build like like it's not, it wasn't a fact of people weren't buying. It was the fact that you just couldn't produce enough ahead of time to satisfy the demand. So you just need that little extra of investment to scale up. Is that what I'm understanding?
yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And the frustrating thing is that the shipping time is very difficult, as you might well know. If you're bringing in product from the other side of the world, there's been
Yeah.
a lot of problems with the shipping routes.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
at
Especially
the
over
moment,
COVID and yeah,
yeah, it was terrible then, and then the Suez Canal is currently shut
that's
because of
true.
the war. Everything's
Yeah.
going down the coast of Africa, and then you got the pirates. So it's
Yeah.
been it can be quite challenging. So just keeping up with it's been very, very exciting to be in a business where it's about keeping up with demand. I've never been in that situation before. In my previous
Right.
business, begging people to buy my product. Now
Right.
it's more, look, this thing is growing and it's growing quick. Can you supply? And we've got 7 or 8 quite substantial corporate contracts with big, well-known companies that we're now working with and selling to. And yeah,
That's awesome.
I, quite worked up because I'm just like,
Well, yeah, as you should be. That's amazing.
yeah,
That's amazing.
yeah.
Now,
Uh,
now, obviously this is a show about how to protect the environment, how to protect the ocean. Um, so obviously, this is a at home soda. Like you're basically, this is CO2 for soda machines, right? So people creating sparkling water or maybe their own soda through SodaStream or anything. It works with essentially all the different brands. Is that like of the different types of soda makers? Is that what it works?
Yeah, of course. So we cover
Smart.
all the brands and a sparkling water tap. So we've actually got I mean, I'll tell you a crazy thing in a minute, but we've got a new larger cylinder that powers sparkling water taps in kind of offices and restaurants and
Oh,
that kind of
nice.
thing. The sustainability thing is crazy. We must talk about it because it is not something that it wasn't my reason
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
or my why for getting into this, but it's just a massive. You see, I see a lot of these businesses. I think there's a huge amount of talk about, being green, but there's a lot of greenwashing, or that I
100%.
see a lot of companies trying to kind of say that they're doing something good, and you're like, well, I personally don't see that, or I question
Right.
a lot of that. But I just knew as a byproduct of what we're doing that it was incredibly good for the planet because our enemy, if we have to have one, is traveled water. So any water that is being moved from A to B that doesn't need to go from A to B, because in the Western world, well, pretty much all over the world now, we have a tap, right? So we have water
Mhm.
right there. We don't need to fill it into a vessel and not only put it in a disposable plastic vessel, but then put it onto a truck, which then burns fuel to move it from here to here. It doesn't make any sense
Yes.
how this whole thing has happened at all.
Yeah.
And the worst part being, of course, is that so much of this plastic ends up in the sea, which is
Yes.
just like heartbreaking, right?
Yeah. Well,
Um,
and
so
even the
so
plastic that's made is a petroleum product in itself. So it's made from petroleum, and so making it is dirty. Drinking it is bad for you because of all the plastic material that comes in, and then disposing, as you mentioned, is not good as well. So all parts of it, from the creation all the way to the disposal, is not good.
Yeah, and I understand there's a need for single-use drinks and
Yep.
a huge demand,
Yep.
but it's very interesting. There's frustrating. There's a business we're working with, very well-known business here in the UK that I can't talk about, but they're really trying to reduce the single-use plastics within their business, and they've got some great ideas. But it's just a really interesting byproduct of what we're doing, and I always say that for my business, it's what we push is convenience. It's getting
Yes.
the gas to your door, collecting it, making it easy for you. So that's what we're all about.
Yep.
But
Yep.
we don't shout loud enough about what we're also doing for the environment. And I think I felt like, not that I couldn't, but like I said, I see so many people doing this
Yeah.
and it not being that genuine. I was kind of like, nah, I think I'm going to focus on something else and just be proud of the byproduct. But I must just quickly
Exactly.
tell you about this incredible thing that's happening here. We have discovered that all of these sparkling water taps in these offices, all across London and the UK, and actually most of Europe, are being powered by a steel cylinder that's a disposable steel cylinder that cannot be recycled. So
Huh.
many of these steel cylinders, and I'm talking tens of thousands, are filled, bought once, used, and essentially thrown away. And that completely blew my mind. So we have created an aluminium refillable cylinder, and we're now bringing that to market this year. We've got it here, and we've just started selling it, and we're working with lots of brands. It's compatible with brands here like Zip Tap, Billy Taps, Aqualibra, this kind of thing. And a lot of these companies are talking about sustainability, and we're like, well, those steel cylinders are not very sustainable. You might be helping people to make sparkling water from the
Yes.
tap, but you're now doing this.
Yeah.
So the sustainability thing is, yeah, like I said, it's a wonderful the byproduct of everything that we're doing, and it's nice to be running a business that is doing really well,
Yeah.
um, making money in itself, and for me, but also feeling like I'm doing something good. Because
Yeah.
there's sure lots of ways of making money that you know you could debate probably perhaps weren't that good, but I feel like I'm doing something with my life that I can look back on one day and say, you know what, I helped.
Yeah.
I did my bit.
Well, and I think you mentioned something really interesting to me is the fact of convenience. A lot of the
Yeah.
times, anything you do that's sustainable tends not to be convenient. You know what I mean? Like even just like you just talked about reusable diapers, not necessarily that convenient. You know, you have to wash them. You have to like, you're basically literally getting your hands dirty more than you want to instead of just disposing them. Picking up a plastic water bottle or an energy drink that's in a plastic water bottle or something that's you want as a convenience in a convenience store, as what we call them here, our corner stores, to just get up, pay for it, walk away, your thirst is quenched. Having something that you have built that is based on convenience, right? Where you don't need to go out and buy single use things. You can have something delivered to your home. The cylinder's delivered to your home. So you're taking from the tap. It just ends up being so much more convenient. And a lot of the times it goes against the idea that in sustainable, being more environmental, thinking of the environment doesn't necessarily mean you're not being convenient. It doesn't mean you're out convenienced. You're actually you can be convenient. And I think it just takes a little ingenuity, a little thought to help in that respect. And I think your business model does that. So that's awesome. Congratulations. That's really cool. Without even probably without even knowing it, right? Like as you mentioned, he's like, I just wanted to get this business because it was helping you. Like in your want and need for this type of service, and then seeing other people having that service and they loving it, and then so it grows like that, and it's being convenient, and it's helping people get away from single-use plastics, and it's helping people using tap water, and just maybe augmenting that experience a little bit of tap water to include a little bit of carbonation. So I love that aspect, and I think it's we don't always have to tell people all about sustainability. I think sometimes, as you mentioned with the greenwashing, but I think some people are getting tired of like, oh yeah, we need to have a sustainable. So maybe some people are just, they don't want to hear it all the time. They just want what they want. You know, if they want a soda stream and they want their carbonated water, they get their carbonated water, and they just
But
get it to the
also
point.
just be authentic, man. Just
Yeah.
don't jump on the bandwagon. Like
Yes.
if you're doing something that is sustainable or helpful, and you've got a story and you've got a reason, um, then tell us and show
Mm-hmm.
us. But
Mm-hmm.
you know, yeah, I'm not going to name businesses or names, but not just some big company. Then trying to like I want to say some, but anyway,
Yeah, I hear you.
um, yeah, it just like I think we're all getting a bit tired of nonsense, and everyone's
Yeah.
desperate for authenticity.
Agreed.
And when it comes to this, yeah, there has been a lot of a lot of nonsense. So yeah, it's just not. Like I said, it's nice to have a business where I know we're genuinely making a difference without even trying, because what we're
Yeah.
doing is stopping people from buying plastic bottled water,
Yep.
um, which in itself is massive.
Yeah, 100%. It is huge. The amount that you're selling all over the UK, and is this world international too, or is this just to the UK?
Well, we have warehouses in London, one in Dublin, and also one in Hamburg in Germany. So we do
Oh
have
wow. Okay.
the ability to supply into the EU. We're just about to launch in the Netherlands.
Nice.
So I mean,
This
who
is
knows?
crazy. The growth, like
Yeah,
this is nuts.
yeah. We'll have to see. I kind of like to run before I can walk, and I think this year I've kind of just I don't want to sort of trap myself, but
Right.
I've got too many ideas, too many things that I want to do. So at the moment we're just rebranding. We're about to relaunch our entire look and feel. We've been working with this incredible um, marketing design agency called Boundless Brand Design here in London. They kind of do a lot of the big um, drinks brands, that
Yep.
kind of thing.
Yep.
So that's very very exciting, and so that's the focus for January. We launched it in Feb.
I love that. I just think I mean I think it's the curse of an entrepreneur to have too many ideas, right? I think every entrepreneur has that. It's a matter of prioritizing and planning it out this certain way so you don't,
And I got
like
to
you
tell
said,
you
you
as
blow
well,
up.
99.9% of my ideas are terrible, absolutely
Right.
terrible. I'm not going to embarrass myself and tell you of some of the crazy, terrible business ideas that I have had that I genuinely thought were great at the time, and now I look back and I'm
Right.
like,
What was I
what was I
thinking?
thinking? Um, but we talked at the beginning about resilience and confidence. So it's
Yeah.
for me, it's about having the uh, not just the drive, but the confidence to have an idea and back yourself and go for it. Because you get a lot of people that will tell you it's not going to work, or
Yes.
you don't really know what you're doing. I had quite a few people questioning this idea, and they were like, "Gas? What do you know about gas?" And I'm like, "Well, I'll find it out." I mean, we
Yeah.
have built in the UK. We have, so far as I know, the only uh, major refilling plant that we have built here in Chelmsford in the UK. We can fill 7 million soda
Wow.
cylinders in a year, and I built, quote unquote, this thing myself. Not that I did anything. I stood there with a cup of coffee and watched. But what I mean is, I
You
I
had the
I,
vision.
I
You
was
had the
able
idea.
to pull together the teams of people and the equipment and everything. Even though I didn't even failed everything to do with science when I was at school. I didn't understand a huge amount of what was going on. It's just the kind of the sheer grit and determination. You're like, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
No matter what, I'm going to make it work. I'm going to find a way. And I think that is the sort of the essence of the entrepreneur is it's broken. Everyone goes, well, that's just the way it is, and
Yes.
that's it. And you go, no, I'm not having
No.
it.
I'm
I'm
gonna
not
fix that.
having that. I'm going to
Yeah.
fix it, and I'm going to show you
Yeah.
that I'm going to fix it, even with people laughing at you and everything else. And you know
Hmm.
what? Maybe you won't, and that's all good. But that's when you
Yeah.
dust yourself off and go and try and fix something else. I love it.
And I think this goes back to our conversation on the rejection. It's sometimes when people reject your idea, you're almost just like, I kind of want to prove you different. Maybe it won't
Mm.
work, but I kind of want to see where this goes. I've done that before where I've just been like, somebody's like, no, that's never going to work. That's a stupid idea. I'm like, That makes me want to do it a little bit more just because you don't think it's going to happen. It's like,
Yeah, for
let me
sure.
think about this a little longer. It seems to be triggering some of you. And I'll be like, oh, okay, let's see how this can work out. Whether it works out or not, it's just like, at least I followed through and see. I mean, entrepreneurs are problem solvers, right? There's a problem at hand usually, and they like, okay, this is the way to solve it. Is it profitable? Maybe it's not, but maybe it's a worthwhile service for a nonprofit. Whatever that may be, an entrepreneur is a problem solver, and I think that's an important part. Sometimes we're right, sometimes we're not, and some ideas are extreme and out there, and some ideas are hit well when it hits. But you have to go through that resilience. You have to be resilient and to say, hey, some ideas are going to work and some ideas aren't. This idea seems to be exploding and working. When you realized about the sustainability, have you thought about, okay, how can we look at what we do and make it a little bit more environmentally friendly? Like, do you find you can identify things a little bit more in your, whether it be supply chain or business practices, where you're like, you know what, maybe we can do this. It wouldn't cost like a terrible amount of money. It wouldn't affect our business that much, but it would be good. And it would kind of double down on not necessarily the messaging of sustainability, but we could say, hey, we're even more sustainable now.
Yeah, sure. I thought about it a lot, because I think that if you are going to make sustainability claims, then you have to be able to back them up. And like I said, we're
Yeah.
not shouting about it, but we do
Right.
claim this sustainability. I think one of the biggest things we didn't have to do that we did do was, we actually removed, we've removed plastic from our entire process, but
Oh,
also
wow.
actually, that's technically not true because
Most of it
come
though.
on, we removed cardboard
Okay.
completely, because say we removed plastic. We actually have created a number of different custom made hard plastic reusable cases to transport our product in
Gotcha.
back and forth. So
Yep.
they're always being
Yep.
reused until eventually, if they do break, then we'll give them to recycling.
Yep.
But that was one thing that was very expensive. We didn't have to do that. We did. That has definitely made us more sustainable, because cardboard. My original idea was, look, we'll keep reusing the cardboard boxes, but unfortunately, it
They
doesn't.
don't last as long,
Doesn't
eh?
they don't last. So you
Yeah.
maybe get two rounds out of them, but then people complain. And yes, people. This is the difficult thing about the sustainability journey. People want to be sustainable, but very few people want to be sustainable if it affects them. They're like, no, no,
Yeah.
you should, like, when that thing, when you spill that thing over there, you should, mop it up and not use a paper towel or whatever. And then it happens to them, and they grab the paper towels, and it's just so. You see what I mean?
Oh my
Um,
God, yes. Yeah,
so
for
you
sure.
realize you realize um, there's a sort of there's a kind of there's a value
Yeah.
uh, there, that is as much as it is. I was talking to another entrepreneur. She has a clothing brand. It's a woman's uh, nightwear
Okay.
business, and she's built this incredibly sustainable business model. Every last element of it, where they make their own cotton, all this kind of stuff. But in the end, what she's found is that people want something sustainable, but you know are they willing to pay what she needs them to pay?
Mm.
So it's about trying to find
Yeah, for sure.
um that that middle ground where you're not just sustainable, but business is sustainable too.
Yeah,
And you just got to do your bit. It's ultimately up to governments, really,
for sure. Oh, for
if they want
sure.
to crack
No doubt.
if they want to crack these problems. It annoys me. I see so many easy wins, that we just don't, you know, um,
Yeah.
where we just don't get things done, and
Yeah.
that's where the change will have to come from, eventually.
Agreed.
But as I said, I feel like I'm contributing something positive with this business, and that helps me
Yeah.
sleep at night.
No, absolutely. I mean, when you have a successful business and it continues to grow, and you're doing something right, just from an ethical and environmental standpoint, I think it's really great. I also think experimentation is going to be needed by businesses. Like you said, you tried the cardboard, it didn't work. People didn't like it. You have to balance the demand, and you have to balance what your consumer is willing to put into it, as well as what you're willing to put into it. The question I have is like, when you do you tell the consumer what you're trying to do? So say when the cardboard happened, do you tell it that and then say, oh yeah, just by the way, as this didn't seem to work out in terms of durability, we went to this type of plastic mold, reusable plastic mold that we can use a lot more. It's a lot more permanent in terms of usage and stability, and it'll be a lot easier for you. Do you get feedback from customers being like, oh, this is a really good idea, or I'm glad you decided to change it?
Well, yeah, we did. This is what's difficult in business is communication and messaging. You got a very small window to get any piece of information about your company, your brand across to your audience. So you got to choose, and you got to choose smart, because having 10 different things that you want them to know, they're not, you know,
Yeah.
our website, if you look at Microsoft Clarity, which is a software that allows you to watch people as they come onto your website and see where their cursor goes. You've got maybe 15 to 25 seconds they're going to be on your website, and then they're gone.
If that, yeah.
So you've got a very small window to do
Yeah.
these things. So yes, we did do a little bit of consumer testing, and we got very, very positive feedback when we introduced these hard cases. But it was kind of common sense, and
Mm-hmm.
I've never really enjoyed that whole like creating lots and lots of packaging continually, cardboard. We did a lot of it in food, a lot of plastic. Packs for nuts and things like that. And it never made me feel great watching it on the production line. I
Yeah.
kind of didn't really want to be a part of that anymore. I understand why it's necessary, but
Yep.
I didn't want that as a business.
Well, and again, that's why it's your business. You get to make those decisions and say, hey, look, we're going to go a different route. And I really like that. I'm someone who has never really had a soda stream and not really familiar with the process as a consumer. So is it, the person orders the amount of cylinders that they want. They get it within a couple of days, 1 or 2 days. They install it into whatever mechanism that they're using it for, because I assume there's a number of different ones. Once they're done with it, how long does each bottle on average last? I know it's based on user and how much they use, but how long does each cylinder last?
Well, the cylinder lasts forever, but it depends,
Oh
as
yeah,
you say,
sorry.
how regularly you use
Yeah.
it. But the industry says 60 liters of sparkling water. I say more like 40, 45 if you want
Okay.
proper sparkling water, I think is the reality. And it works out as very good value, actually.
Mm-hmm.
But it's more about the ability to have sparkling water there right when you need it, as often as you need it. Because
Yeah.
obviously, if you've purchased it in a bottle, as I said, once you
Oh,
once you
it's
take that lid off, then yeah, you've got a limited amount of time to drink it. So
yeah.
it's about having that sparkling water on tap. And if you love sparkling water as much as I do, then it's a game changer. I mean, I got into sparkling water mainly some time ago because I I like my food. I was putting on weight, and I thought, well, if I'm going to eat too much, it's probably not great if I'm drinking too much. So it's what can I drink that's 0 calorie that I enjoy? And turns out I just love sparkling water, so I drink it all the time. I'm actually
Gotcha.
drinking sparkling water now, but it does have a little bit of squash in. But
Okay. Hey, that's all right.
shoot me.
Yeah, no, hey, it
Mm.
works. It works well. And does it like does sparkling water fill you up more than regular water just because of the carbonation? Like, so you feel full. Like, say if you don't want to eat a snack or something, you want to have that instead. Some
I
people say
think
like eat like drink a lot of water if you don't want to eat much because it'll fill you up. Because of the carbonation, does it fill you up a little bit more? You think?
no.
No.
I
Okay.
don't think
Interesting.
so.
Okay.
I'd love to say that it does. I think that would be disingenuous. No, I'm not sure that's true.
Right.
But I think, look, what's great is things like getting children to drink water. Like at the moment, my daughter's 5, and you know how this is. That it's pretty easy when they're younger, but as
Yeah.
as kids get older, they get more fussy and they want
Yeah.
something with flavor in it. So being able to put some theatre into the process, then being able to use the machine, press the button, the gas goes in,
Right.
There's bubbles, and making it fun
Fun.
is really helpful to then get them to consume it, because it's desperately important. We need 2 liters at least of
Yeah.
water as adults a day, and that's quite a lot of liquid to be consuming. So
Yeah. I
that's
like
another
that.
really
Yeah.
positive thing that we're a part of. And I've got some ideas here in the UK where I'd really like to try and encourage schools to get these machines, and allow
Mm,
kids who can bring in their bottled water to be able to gas it up when they get into school, that kind of thing.
gotcha.
And we've got a lot of ideas like this, and like I said, I have to hold myself back a little bit. So I do too
Grow
many
nice
things
and
at once.
nice and slow. I love it. I love it.
Slow
This
is
is
pro.
slow as exactly. This has been a wonderful conversation. People can go to co2u.com to find out more. And obviously in and around the UK, people can get this. And so I highly recommend that you do. And for more information, I'll put the link in the show notes and in the description so people can get access to it. I really appreciate your transparency and going through a lot of the question and answering a lot of the questions I have about the sort of the journey of an entrepreneur. I think is really important, especially in a very transparent way, to just be like, look, this is fun and it can be really rewarding, but it could also be challenging and difficult at times. And I really appreciate that transparency, because I don't think we see that enough, especially online. So we definitely appreciate that. And of course, we appreciate the work you do with making things more sustainable for our planet and for our oceans and for our water supply. And we all know how wasteful that can be in some time. So being able to utilize tap water, make it a little bit more exciting, I think is really great. So I do appreciate that. The last question I have for you is, people out here, in my audience, are very creative. There's a lot of entrepreneurs out there, or entrepreneurs that maybe not have that. They may not have that business idea right away. They may not have it right now that will really put them over the edge. What would be like the overall arching advice that you would give them to help them continue on their path to discovering that type of idea?
Oh, what a question. Well, I don't rush out to do something just because you want to start a business. Uh,
Mm,
if you if you have an idea and it's in a space that you're not familiar with, it's worth going into industry and trying to find out a little bit more
yeah,
about it.
yeah,
But look, if you're anything like me or many of the other entrepreneurs out there, and you're hungry and ambitious and you just want to do this, nothing I can say to you is going to stop you going out and doing your crazy idea,
for
hopefully
sure.
fantastic idea. But if it's anything like me, probably crazy, and getting it on with it anyway. So, um, look, uh, I guess if I can give any kind of advice, just remember it's all about the journey, and nothing truly great is truly great if there isn't some difficulty getting there.
Right.
It's never
Yeah.
satisfying just
Yeah.
to be handed everything onto a plate. You gotta earn it. And if you talk to a lot of people, particularly these big entrepreneurs who've made tons and tons of money, they always say, they're like, "Ah, man, the best bit was the journey. That was the best bit." So remember that, particularly when it's
Yeah.
hard, because
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, it gets really tricky. But just believe in yourself.
I love it. Thank you so much, Marcus. We really appreciate you coming on the show. I know it's late in the UK for you, so I do appreciate
Just be in
your
bed.
time here. Yeah. Well, and with that, I'll let you go to bed. And but honestly, thank you so much for doing this. Love to have you back on to find out what's happening with CO2U in a few months or a few years.
I love
And
that.
it'd be a lot of fun. So thank you so much for what you do, and thank you for coming on and sharing that with us.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you, Marcus, for joining me on today's episode of the How to Protect the Ocean podcast. What a fantastic interview. What a fun time to get to know an entrepreneur who wanted to start something to provide somebody with convenience that likes sparkling water, to provide somebody that does not want to have to go to the store, buy something that's unsustainable, or just buy something that when you open the bottle, all the carbonation goes away once you stop drinking it and you just put it down. right? You want something that's on demand, very convenient, comes to your house, and it works with a lot of different types of apparatuses or products. And so it really fits the perfect business model in this case. And obviously it's not an easy thing to do, to build a business. And we talked about that. We talked about how the ability to be rejected from a personal level in TV and film, as it gets personal, they look at your looks and the way you act. And if you don't like that, if they don't like you, then they don't like you for the role. But then going to a business and being like, hey, we made that product may not be for us, and really understanding how to not only just get over rejection or deal with rejection, but also overcome it so that you can continue to do sales, you can continue to grow your business, and you can continue to come up with ideas and develop those ideas to have a successful one like CO2U. This interview really touches not a lot of what we normally touch upon when we talk about how to protect the ocean. But like I said, we have to rely on businesses now more than government, because the government in the US, in Canada, and other places may not be environmentally focused. And so we need to make sure that our businesses are doing what they can to be sustainable and to find, and really it's just a matter of finding it out. So if you are a UK listener and you love sparkling water, I highly recommend that you go to C2U. They're not sponsoring this podcast. I invited them on because I thought that it was a really cool thing. So I highly recommend that you go there and just go to co2u.com. I'll put the link in the show notes and the description. That's it for today's episode. I want to thank you for joining us. If you like this content, you want to see more of it, if you're on YouTube, you can subscribe and you can hit the notification button so you don't miss any episodes in the future. You can also go on Spotify and see the video and you can subscribe. You can go to Apple Podcasts or Spotify to listen to the audio, and other podcast apps to listen to the audio, and you can get the same information. You just don't get to see my beautiful face. But other than that, you get to hear my voice and you get to hear people like Marcus and others, and we talk about all things oceans and sustainability. So you can DM me on Instagram at How to Protect the Ocean. That's at How to Protect the Ocean, one word. And of course, you can always go to speakupforblue.com to find out more information on this podcast, the Beyond Jaws podcast, and all the other podcasts affiliated with us. And I want to thank you so much for joining us on today's episode of the How to Protect the Ocean podcast. Have a great day. We'll talk to you next time, and happy conservation.